Did you know there are countries that dreamed of becoming the next India, a global powerhouse with a booming economy, vibrant culture, and unmatched influence? But what if I told you some of these nations crashed and burned in their pursuit, falling short in spectacular fashion? Welcome to our countdown of the 8 countries that tried to be the next India, but failed miserably. From economic missteps to political chaos, we're diving into the stories of ambition gone wrong, with some shocking updates from 2025 that you won't believe. Buckle up, because this journey is going to be wild. Kicking off our list at number 8 is Nigeria, a nation with big dreams of mirroring India's economic rise. With a massive population and vast oil reserves, Nigeria seemed poised to become Africa's answer to India's growth story. In the early 2010s, Nigeria's GDP was climbing, and it was dubbed the Giant of Africa. But ambition alone wasn't enough. In 1984, Nigeria attempted demonetization to curb corruption, much like India's 2016 move, but it backfired, tanking the economy as inflation soared and debt piled up. Fast forward to 2025, Nigeria is still grappling with instability. Recent reports highlight ongoing insurgencies and a failure to diversify beyond oil, leaving its economy vulnerable to global price shocks. Unlike India's push into tech and manufacturing, Nigeria's over-reliance on crude has kept it from the global stage, proving that potential doesn't always equal progress. Next up at number 7 is Ghana, a country that once hoped to emulate India's economic reforms. In the 1980s, Ghana tried demonetization to tackle tax evasion and excess liquidity, aiming for a financial overhaul similar to India's. But instead of stability, it pushed people toward black markets and physical assets, weakening the economy. By 2025, Ghana is still struggling to regain its footing. Despite early promise as a stable democracy in West Africa, recent economic updates show a ballooning debt crisis, with the IMF stepping in for yet another bailout. Ghana's inability to build a robust manufacturing sector or leverage its cocoa and gold resources effectively has kept it far from India's diverse economic model. It's a cautionary tale of what happens when bold moves lack the infrastructure to back them up. At number 6, we have Bangladesh, a surprising entry given its proximity to India. In the 2010s, Bangladesh was hailed as a rising star, with its garment industry booming and GDP growth outpacing India's at times. Many thought it could replicate India's success in low-skill manufacturing. But by 2025, cracks have appeared. Political instability, including the ousting of Sheikh Hasina's government in 2024, has led to economic uncertainty. Bangladesh's heavy reliance on textiles, unlike India's diversified tech and service sectors, has left it vulnerable. Recent data shows a drop in export growth due to global trade disruptions, and the country's failure to invest in education and infrastructure has stunted its potential. Bangladesh tried to follow India's path, but stumbled on its own systemic weaknesses. Coming in at number 5 is Sri Lanka, a nation that once aimed to be South Asia's economic gem. With its strategic location and plans to upgrade ports like Colombo, Sri Lanka hoped to mirror India's trade-driven growth. But economic mismanagement and political turmoil derailed its dreams. In 2022, a debt crisis led to a default, and by 2025, Sri Lanka is still recovering from that blow. The rise of a leftist government favoring China over India has shifted its economic alliances, but it hasn't delivered the promised prosperity. Unlike India's focus on digital innovation and infrastructure, Sri Lanka's reliance on foreign loans and lack of domestic reform have kept it from the spotlight. It's a stark reminder that geography alone can't make you a superpower. At number 4, we find Nepal, a close neighbor that once leaned heavily on India's economic influence. Nepal aimed to emulate India's growth through tourism and hydropower, banking on its Himalayan allure. But political instability and overdependence on India for trade have held it back. In 2025, Nepal's communist-leaning government has pivoted toward China, seeking investments to break free from India's shadow. Yet, recent economic reports show sluggish growth and infrastructure bottlenecks, with hydropower projects stalled by bureaucratic red tape. Unlike India's ability to balance global partnerships, Nepal's flip-flopping alliances have left it stuck in a low-growth trap, proving that proximity to a giant doesn't guarantee success. Taking the number 3 spot is Malaysia, a Southeast Asian nation that aimed to rival India's tech and manufacturing boom. In the 2000s, Malaysia positioned itself as a hub for electronics and trade, hoping to mirror India's IT revolution. But by 2025, it's clear Malaysia missed the mark. Its economy remains heavily reliant on palm oil and electronics exports, lacking the diversification that powered India's rise. Recent trade data shows Malaysia struggling to compete with cheaper labor markets like Vietnam. Political scandals and inconsistent policies have further eroded investor confidence, unlike India's steady reforms under Modi. Malaysia's dream of being the next India faded as it failed to innovate and adapt. At number 2, we have Indonesia, a country with a massive population and natural resources that once seemed destined to follow India's path. In the 2010s, Indonesia's growth surged, driven by commodities like coal and palm oil, and it aimed to become a manufacturing powerhouse. But corruption and infrastructure deficits have plagued its progress. In 2025, Indonesia faces new challenges with global trade disruptions, particularly Trump's tariffs impacting its exports. Unlike India's push into digital payments and green energy, Indonesia's slow adoption of technology and failure to address labor skill gaps have kept it from global leadership. It's a case of potential squandered by systemic flaws. And now, the number 1 country that tried and failed miserably to be the next India, Pakistan. With a shared history and a large population, Pakistan once dreamed of rivaling India's economic and geopolitical clout. Its strategic location and military ambitions fueled hopes of becoming a regional powerhouse. But decades of political instability, terrorism, and economic mismanagement have left Pakistan struggling. In 2025, tensions with India have escalated after a deadly Kashmir attack, with India launching strikes and Pakistan claiming to down Indian jets. Economically, Pakistan's reliant on IMF bailouts, and its failure to build a tech or manufacturing base, unlike India's digital revolution, has widened the gap. Pakistan's dream of matching India has crumbled under the weight of its own challenges. And there you have it, the 8 countries that tried to become the next India, but fell short in spectacular fashion. From Nigeria's oil dependence to Pakistan's geopolitical turmoil, these nations show that ambition alone isn't enough without the right policies, stability, and vision. India's rise as the world's 5th largest economy in 2025, with projections to hit 3rd by 2027, sets a high bar that few can match. What do you think? Did we miss any countries? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you learned something new, and subscribe for more global stories that'll keep you hooked. Until next time, keep exploring the world with us.